All this meeting in order. Thank you for coming. Please we need to excuse Commissioner Reed, he's not here yet. Haven't heard if he'll be here. So we'll excuse him. Thank you all for coming again, and we'll move on to agenda item number 2, which is consent approval of the planning commission minutes from October 9th, 2024. We'll get a chance to read them. So, have any issues with them, or are we ready to approve this?
I don't have any issues that talks out to me. My mom, so I was going to read them.
I propose. I make a motion. That we adopt the planning commission minutes from October 9th, 2024.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was all of us. Minutes are approved. And moves us to agenda item number 3, which is a public hearing to take comments for or against ordinance 561, an ordinance amending the official zoning map and adopting a master development agreement for certain parcels located approximately 2525 North Highway 89, based on an application filed with the city. Thank you for pulling up the diagram. That will be very helpful for everybody's comments. The reminder, the public hearing, it's an opportunity for us to hear your opinion. Come up to the microphone, state your name, share your thoughts. It's not a discussion. We're here to hear you, not to argue with you or tell you everything. You'll have 3 minutes. Please be mindful of the time limit, to be respectful, no shouting, pointing fingers, or applause. Anticipate it getting out of hand, but if it does, disorderly people can be escorted out. So with those rules, we review what the public hearing is about before we open it up to the public. Jenny?
Absolutely. We have our planner here, Brandon Green from Johnson Associates, and he can review his memo prior to the public hearing.
Thank you.
Good evening, planning commission and Steve. It's good to be here tonight. As was stated, planning commission has received, or the city has received, an application requesting a public hearing to consider an ordinance to rezone approximately 16.82 acres of property at 2550 North Highway 89 from general commercial C to a mixed use commercial or MPC. The application that has been submitted meets the requirements of the general plan and also meets the requirements of the future land use. It's currently zoned C2 and A1, but with this rezone, it would be all rezoned to I almost said MPC, mixed use
MUC.
MUC, mixed use commercial. The mixed use commercial allows for residential, and it also allows for some commercial use. And we can pull up the site plan that they submitted. Roughly half of the property or the development is commercial use, which would be up along the 250 North Street, and the other half of the property in the back there and off Highway 89 will be some residential use. Right now, the plan is showing access onto 250 or 2550 North Street and an access onto 750 West. 2550 North is Pleasant View City, so there would have to be some coordination and some planning with Pleasant View in the connection there. We'd also have to be working with UDOT on Highway 89 and any connections, proposed connections there with UDOT. There's also going to need to be some coordination with UDOT on potential connection of 250 and Highway 89 there. There would be road improvements or required street improvements on 750 West, where the development would tie in, and then also improvements along 2550 North. What else? Let me see. This is a concept plan. We've still got a long ways to go with the developer and the proposal on this. This would be developed under master development agreement, and so a lot of the details will be ironed out in the master development agreement. So please don't get hung up on this concept plan because it is likely to change. But this at least gives you an idea of what the developer is thinking as far as the development for that area. I just want to also bring to your attention that last meeting, if you remember, we approved a rezone request for the corner of 750 West and 2550 North. And there may be some things that we have to work out between those two, just because of access is on the 2550, but that will have to be reviewed at the present meeting as well. So we'll keep in mind that that's going to be developed. So are there any questions or anything that I can answer for you?
I think that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that introduction, I think I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing. Take comments for or against ordinance 561.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, public hearing is open. Please come up, state your name. Tell us your thoughts.
I am Briscoe. My goodness, that thing sticks right up there. Okay. Let's see. First of all, the public hearing notice I identified on the property down on 89. It's actually two separate pieces of property. One of them's on 89, one of them is on 25, is on 750 West. And you can see should I walk over there?
Sure.
All of this is, as far as I can tell, this is the live to work stuff, and I think this is supposed to be being commercial. I don't know if that's right or not, but all of the residential stuff is pretty much gonna dump out onto 750. So the fact that it's on 750 is pertinent. The portion that's on 89 is currently, I believe, zoned all commercial. The portion that's on 750 is currently zoned as agricultural. Both of them on the future land use map are designated as commercial. To my knowledge, they are not. There's nothing about mixed use in that. And I have asked many, many times that the houses on the north end of 750, can't we amend the future land use map and leave those as agricultural and let those people stay in their houses? And been told, no, we can't. It was too much work, too much money, too much time. We can't fix the future land use map. So to change it for this is out of keeping with what's been done in the past. How am I doing on time? This is something that I just started learning about yesterday, so I'm not really familiar with this. But I'm told that approving a request to rezone these properties to mixed use would allow Harrisville to check a box as far as the affordable housing or the whatever it's being called now. It keeps changing names. Checking a box doesn't seem to me like a good reason to change the zoning on a property to something that would allow for a development that I think is other than an enhancement to the city. There are other options available within that bill that we're not currently, as far as I can tell on the reporting, we're not currently using that. We could instead of that. So, okay. I understand that this is subject to change, and I figure this is starting way at the top end with lots of room for negotiation. But this development has lots of issues for me. It's going to degrade my property values. I've been here for 30 years, and this would degrade my property values a whole bunch. So, we have lots of high density housing in the city already, either in process and in use or in plan. Or, you know, there's a whole bunch. We don't need more high density. This isn't, you mentioned finger pointing, and this isn't intended to be finger pointing, it's just a fact. The developer and the property owner, neither one live in this city. The city would be left to deal with all of the costs and all of the problems that a development like this would generate, and those people would make bunches of money and be left with no responsibility. So. Lots of traffic on 750, heavy traffic on 750. And then the rest of it just talks to this site plan, and I don't think this site plan is the final thing. But parking that's shown in a drawing, I feel is inadequate. I don't think there's any way that many people living in that space could park in that space. I'm concerned about the driving patterns in there. I think that you would have, particularly rush hours, you'd have people bumping
You're
into
at
each
your
other.
time.
I'm out of time.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, and you have them in writing.
Yeah. We got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the introduction of what this proposal is, and the notice it didn't say what type of mixed use is being proposed. There was no indication of which mixed use zoning was, so I appreciate knowing it now as the presentation for the place. My concern is in the mixed use ordinance, it talks about development of a well-planned neighborhood, and it is proposed to blend with the neighbors. My concern is, even though this is a concept design, what you're asked to approve is a development agreement that's tied to the concept design. So I just want to throw out a couple of things of design that may improve this project. First of all, 750 West, why not rotate so the houses look like houses facing the rest of 750? So it's in compatibility along that street side. So the homes that are next to it have side yards to them rather than a tiny backyard. If you look at that lower part, you're talking about a straight shot that's 3.5 football fields long and a third to 2/3 of the width of a football field. Imagine just looking down that straight down, and there's nothing to break it up. There's nothing to cause your eye to go different ways. And looking down that tube, you just blend out to nowhere. That's not a great design. That is more storage units for people. You know, where you're building is that storage unit design layout, and put people in it. And that's what I look at this design and say, the open space for the courtyard, well, it's not by the courtyard. It's over to the side by the detention pond. It's not where the major population is. The sidelines coming in, have you back out and have you come into the driveway of the house. There will be conflicts there. And in those areas, the way those alignments are made. And there's really no space for any of those homes. You look at where the courtyard area is, it's about 24 feet wide. Typical design would tell you if you're having 2 to 2.5 story buildings there, you want that same height as a minimum as a space between buildings to feel comfortable in that space. Too narrow, you've created shadows all winter, there are ice problems. And the comfort level is like, you know, you just feel uncomfortable in that space, you don't want to be in it. So I think there's some real design issues. I'm not against the mixed use as it is, in terms of a zone, but I don't think this concept drawing gets at what a mixed use is supposed to do. And the other part is that, is a mixed use based on your ordinance, or is this just a mixed use that's negotiated? Because if it's based on the ordinance, there's more than 5 units per building. Live work. If it's a true live work, it's gonna be an expensive construction because you got to fire rate the live space from the workspace. If it's meant to be a space for home occupation, that's a different story. But those are factors to consider in terms of the cost of the project and things that be done to make it, time's up, to make it work. Thanks, Brandon.
My name is Steve Benson. I live at 2530 North. You probably recognize my house in the spring. It's the one with the lake in front. That's because there's no curb and gutter on 750 West. And there's not enough room to move the water. The city was very nice to me last year and came over and pumped that out several times. I've talked to the mayor over in Pleasant View, and he said that if I got permission, I could pump it across 2550. And I did talk to him about that. He said, but I couldn't get permission from him to put it on that land. So I worry about the water. I also worry about 750. I mean, it's probably 2 generations from a trail. You start out with the trail and then you get 2 wagon wheel trails, and then you asphalt it. I mean, it doesn't even have a center line on it. Doesn't have curb and gutter on the north end. And from what I understand, that's still 3 or 4 years away. Is this development the city that's gonna put that in? Or is it the developer? As I look at the map, this is the first time I've seen it. So I'm not really sure where 750 is. Is that up there?
It's on the far right.
Far right.
I show?
Yeah,
This is 750, so you're right here.
okay. And what's these across the bottom?
This is coming up the south side of the property in question.
Okay. Cause
This is coming out right by Marvin's house.
yeah, if they're like my street, they better have some good curb and gutter to take care of that. Or at least some water displacement. Ever since I've lived there, I've been gonna go out and sit on the front porch and count how many cars go by every hour. Cause that is a busy street already. And if it were to be busier, it'd probably have to be a 4-lane street. Especially with that much traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was all, that's all the hearings closed. Thank you all for coming, thank you for your input, we appreciate hearing from you. This moves us to agenda item number 4, which is public comments. You have something up?
Sorry, I am the developer and would like to say something. Do I?
Which we can do during public comments, right?
Which we can do during-
Sorry, I just didn't know when you
Yeah.
want it. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, thank you. We're gonna move to public comments. This is your time to come up and tell us everything, and you're welcome to come up and share at this time, so. You want to be the first in public comments? Sorry,
Okay,
I had to get to that point in the agenda.
No, sorry. Every city does it a little bit different when the developer stands out. My name is Trek Loveridge. I'm with the Holland Group. We recently got this piece under contract and started working with Jenny Knight and the city staff on this. I just want to say they've been amazing to work with and have really cared about what we present here. We met with them earlier to kind of just talk conceptually about a couple things and took their input and tried our best to incorporate it. A couple of things that I would love to address that the public talked about was first, parking. One thing that we always try to do whenever we do a townhome project is make sure that it's not too crowded. I live in a townhome myself. It's, you know, the only thing that's affordable these days for someone trying to make it in the world. And my townhome complex sucks with parking. There's never enough and it's hard to find a place late at night. This project, what it's proposing is every single townhome has a 20-foot driveway, being able to accommodate 2 cars on the driveway itself, with a 2-car garage as well. I have friends who also are in neighborhoods that have like a larger driveway approach. And it makes it so much easier than just rear-loaded alley townhomes where people are parking in front of the garage, you can't find a place to park. And so that's something that we've been mindful of. Another thing is the driving patterns. We have paid a lot of money with engineers who have said that this is the best plan. This makes the most sense in terms of flow of traffic. Another thing that we thought a little bit ahead on was we're aware of 750 West not being the best street now, and in your guys' street master plan calls for an improvement on that road. And that's why our townhomes are 40 feet back from the road to accommodate a future expansion. Your street plan says 10 feet on both sides will be added to 750 West to help. But we kind of wanted to give ourselves a little bit of a larger buffer just to make sure that it felt enough out of the way, tried to add some trees to kind of make a more formal approach rather than just a wall of townhomes. But if you have any other questions, I don't want to.
What do you want to name this?
That's the hardest part about these projects. I don't think we have a name yet. We'll come up with something. If you have any recommendations, please.
This time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is your opportunity to come up the second time to pull the comments.
I do want to talk about the infrastructure. Again, we talked about this just with the other one. The corner one, just a minute ago, but no curb and gutter, no sidewalk, no, there is not city water. Well, it's available out in the middle of the street, and city sewer is there. There's no storm sewer available, which is why Mr. Benson always has water in his yard. There's no storm sewer available. It's not there. And I'm told by Mr. Shinsel that the grant money that's coming, that's going to facilitate what's the improvement to 750 is going to reach our section of 750 in 2035. That's a lot of years away. He said he was hopeful and optimistic that it would be done in 2036. That's a long time away. And again, as far as townhouses and the number of townhouse developments that there are around, I talked to a young man in the county offices today who said, yeah, we've got millions of townhouses around here and no single family homes, and all of us young people are moving into townhouses. And we get tired of living there and we want single family homes to move into, starter houses, and there aren't any. So I just wanted to add those. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Hunter Moran with the Holland Group as well, so on the development side. Thanks everyone for their feedback and being able to take the time to review this project. You know, I think as I look at it and kind of hear what's been said, the only thing that I felt like would be worthwhile tonight to mention was something that, Mr. Montgomery had talked about. And obviously, this site is not a perfect square, right? It's got some unique challenges to the design that actually give us a few constraints that we have to work with. And I do see what he's saying about the south side of this property being long and quite a few homes, and that one of the main things for that is just simply the shape of the property. Now, the one thing that we've always tried to do when it comes to design constraints and being able to work in a way that alleviates that concern is through different elevations and being able to break up the view of the eye by being able to have different designs incorporated throughout the street. Whether it be a large production builder or a custom subdivision, one thing that really helps make sure that the street and the product is not so repetitive is through that elevation. Whether it be a different pitch of the roof or whether it be a different color or cutout or bump out of the home, there are things that we can do from a design element that will ultimately help break up that repetitiveness that was mentioned. So that's kind of the only thing I wanted to mention, but I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Read in your minutes, I think it was last month, Commissioner Holbrook had mentioned about the process that takes place in these meetings and the public involvement with that. I just want to share with you a story. And years ago, one of the things we would do in our office, every year we would have our sister city, Hof, Germany, send over their students who were studying planning. We would take them around to show how planning works in America. And one of the comments of the students after we were done and they attended a planning commission meeting, well, the question was always, why do you allow the public to speak? You are the professional planner. It doesn't matter what the public thinks. You are the one who's trained. And we had to try to explain to those German students that no, public input is important because they can give you things that you've never thought of. They can give you insights that you may have overlooked. And if you ignore them, you also ignore the opportunity for buy-in of whatever you're trying to get approved. They need to be informed and they need to be educated to make all feel comfortable about it. It's interesting, 10 to 12 years of that, we started to see some of the German students saying, you know what, we're being forced now to listen to the public in Germany. And, you know, this is very stressful. How do we deal with this? As a Commissioner Holbrook had mentioned, are there better ways to do processes so that all feel that they have an opportunity to be part of the community and be educated of what's taking place? I had shared with you almost a year ago now, some different processes that are still consistent with state law. There's nothing that you're doing that's inconsistent with state law, but still would allow more buy-in and education to the public and also to see where things are going so people are understanding can then take that back to their neighborhood. And I suggest if you have it still, review it. And as you talk about what are some ways to improve that public commissioner interface, to review that and see about some of those processes. Like I said, I just appreciate this time. This is the first planning commission I've been to where it's actually presented what is being talked about. And actually said what the zone was, because it was not in the public notice. So I appreciate that those things are taking place now. But I think there's things you can do to further improve that process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
That follow? Maybe you have follow-up for us?
Yes, actually, I do. The mayor received an email from Commissioner Reed resigning from his position on the planning commission due to personal reasons. So she will answer, she will be appointing a new planning commissioner in the future. And I failed to mention this to the city council, but I think it's possibly more applicable where most of the public hearings are taking place at the planning commission level for development. Last week, I attended a city managers conference, and we had Steve Waldrop from the governor's office, that's over the housing initiatives, give some question answer for quite a long time. One of the questions that was posed to Steve Waldrop was, what can the state do to help the cities educate the public after several years of the moderate income housing reports being required by the city, and our urgency to meet those based on some of the demands the legislators had put on the cities. We feel like there's a gap that's been created between the city having to meet those requirements and then the public not knowing and having a full understanding of what those requirements are. So it was interesting that there have been appropriated funds. The details of those were not necessarily given, but there have been funds appropriated to help. You're all aware of the West Weaver development that was approved, and the governor attended the groundbreaking ceremony a week or so ago. And all cities are feeling the same pressure. This is a common situation. We're not alone. We're trying to meet those requirements through the strategies that we've adopted. And the general plan will be updated in its timeframe requirement of 10 years, but it took us several years to adopt that. So we'll be starting that just not too long from now to talk about what Harrisville will look like in the year 2029 plus. So I just thought that might be a good report and opportunity for us to acknowledge that we know there has been frustration from residents, but there also is an understanding on staff and the commissioners and the city council members side where we know what we have to do to meet those demands, and all cities are going through that. So that's a long-winded report.
What's the latest word on the golf course? Start developer.
So the city council did adopt the master development agreement on October 29th. So we have some finalized insertions on that master development agreement before we collect signatures. But there's still negotiation between Fieldstone and the lender. We haven't received word that that's been finalized yet. And they're still talking to the city council about a possible public infrastructure district. So that's the most recent update on that project.
Yeah, it would be specific at the moment.
If there's no other follow.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time.